All right, let's get into it today. Buying the dip, bounce plays, super important. It's my go-to strategy, right? Go to it more than anything. I'm always looking for bounce plays. It's pretty much the go-to for me. Now they've been a little bit MIA lately. We've been talking about this to a few different people in chat, but finally, like today, seeing some good bounce plays. So I'm going to go over, stocks we've seen earlier this year, of course, when things were hotter, get into stocks we've seen recently, and just show you where and how, why, and for what reasons I'm finding these bounces and why I get into these bounce plays. And I know I've shown you CREX. If you've been in chat, it seems like so much, a lot of time. I started going live right after the CRX went on this crazy, amazing spike from 95 cents up through $5. Or I know it was up through 4. I think it hit 5, right around $5. Beautiful run. And here's the main thing: it built early on in the day, and you have to notice these things right as you look at a chart. Like anytime we pull up a chart here in chat, right? What's one of the first things I'm looking at? And I can, start putting those trend lines in, or I can start putting support and resistance lines in. And that's the first thing you need to look at when you're buying or looking for support, looking for bounces. You're looking for those support plays where old resistance is equals new support. I'm looking at my sandwich areas because those are old resistance equals new support areas. So I'm always looking for that. So you're always, and just draw them in. The more you see these things, team, the more you start drawing these things in early on. Like now, sometimes I don't even have to. Like some people, and I'm just I just see them in my head. I really don't necessarily need them because I see them right where they're at. Now maybe a trend line's different because I want to short it right at that trend line crack. I want to see right where that number's at. But a lot of the time, I don't have to put these lines in. I know that this area is the resistance, and right around the whatever, I think the 190-ish area was going to be a quick little dip below 2 and for a support. I know where these areas are for later on, right there. I don't have to draw this in. I see the upper shadow, the lower shadows, my sandwich kind of going on over here. Then I see the VWAP coming. So what? Another beautiful bounce later on. I see this little sandwich area plus the VWAP double whammy. Look at these bounce plays right off the VWAP, and old resistance equals new support. Notice these things, team. Draw these lines in. The more you see them, the more frequently you see them, the more you draw them in, the faster you're going to see them as soon as you spot a stock. You're not going to have to hesitate, decide where you want to buy, pull the trigger, sell, all that. It's just going to start forming really fast for you. The faster it forms, the faster you can adapt and get into these plays and out of these plays. Now, real quick, just to kind of go over them. Bounce 1, you kind of see the support happening right here, 135. Now, that's a little bit more of those riskier traders, seeing the support here off the old halt area, a little bit riskier essentially. It's on its first leg up, really, right? It's not really pounding all the way up 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? It's only up a little bit at this time, not even up 100%. But that's your first little bounce play off the old halt area. Now your second bounce off the old resistance that does spike up through 160, but it's really more so right around the 150 area. But then you have the VWAP at 150. Beautiful bounce into this wedge. Anywhere in this wedge area would have been great for a push up where to the next leg up. And look at this next leg up you do get. You get a 150-60 break essentially to get all the way up to one, close, or I should say you get a $2 break. You go from 160-ish break, which you really need. That's the main goal here, and you push through 180. Then you push through 2. So now your next bounce area is where? It's a little bit harder to determine where it was going to bounce because that's where I missed it. And I'll go over this in a second. I'm like, it's up on its third little wedge here. Oh, it's moving up this, the trend line. And I should have, and this is before I was really buying, and I still don't too often, trend line bounces, right on the trend line, boom, get in right here, because I'll put it in on the next line. I'll put the trend line in for you. Beautiful trend line bounce this was. When you put a trend line in here, you'll see why it bounced and finally flew up and all the volume came in. People had trend line set in. They played it. They bought in. It spiked right through 2 and 210 and 220. Beautiful push. Now, finally, I'm getting mad. I'm getting angry. I'm trying to figure out where. Look, that's fine. Where am I going to get in? Let me get into it. Just right here. Well, I guess this kind of zooms in a little bit more for you so that way you can see actually a little bit clearer. I forgot to put this slide in for you so you can actually see. But as you can easily see where these areas are, they just kind of make sense the more you look at them, the more you put these lines in. I know there's a little bit of wording here on this one, but here now back to the top. I've missed my play. I didn't pull the trigger right here I wanted to. I wanted to so bad, and then I saw it shot up, and I'm like, oh, and I'll show you the trend line on the next slide. I'm pretty sure it's the next slide. I'll show you the trend line. Right there was a beautiful buy off the trend line. I missed it, so now I'm angry. I'm literally, but like Dek angryish in a happy way, and more so of a I'm vengeful. I'm about to get this. You know what? I'm about to get you, sucker. You know that great movie in the late 80s, early 90s. I think it was late 80s. I'm gonna get you, sucker. That great movie. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get this sucker. I'm gonna get him. I'm waiting. I'm a stock sniper. I'm sitting in my tower, my nice little ivory tower, as they call it, right? You know, your nice little pretty tower, but chilling. I'm waiting. Mine's more of like a demonic. You know, there's dragons flying around. So mine's more like you know, the, oh my gosh, what is the show that was just on HBO? Oh my gosh, I cannot. The biggest show over the last almost 10 years on HBO. That's my tower. Game of Thrones. Anyway, Game of Thrones. That's my tower. Game of Thrones. You get my point. A little darker, not so ivory. Regardless, I'm waiting. I'm so honed in at this moment. I'm so focused, and that's what you have to be. You get mad, you get angry, but in a good way. You get focused. You go, okay, you know, you just threw a pick. You're Tom Brady. You're about to go out there and go, oh, I just threw a pick. I'm down 28-6 in the Super Bowl. Shit, watch what I'm about to do. You know, Michael Jordan, oh, you're smack talking. Oh, I hear the fans on the sideline over there as I'm walking up back down the court. I missed however many in a row, and I'm down 10 or 15 with however many 5 minutes to go. I'm like, oh, y'all about to see what's up now. That's what you do. You get honed in. You go, okay, cool. You got me, but now I'm about to get you. And that's what I did. Boom. Right here on this lower shadow, I wanted to dip down to 210. And I wish I had the alerts, which I'll get to some of these. I do have alerts pulled up with some of these. I'll pull up my alerts in chat. But that's the bounce I wanted. This 210-ish area from the old high, because it just kept doing it, right? I mean, we kept moving up, and it was bouncing off old resistance, new support, old resistance, new support. So we kept doing that over and over again, and then literally, finally, get a beautiful, beautiful bounce, and I finally get in is the point. But as you can see, alerted in chat for the bounce at the 210 area, old high of day, equals what? You know, it's old resistance equals new support. And then as I just showed you a second ago, you keep getting bounce plays. You keep getting awesome bounce plays on the VWAP. CREX, as you can see, look at the trend line. Be a beautiful team. You can't get much better than that. Can't get much better than that at all. Harry Potter. There we go. Exactly. Harry Potter even would go Game of Thrones. Exactly. The Game of Thrones. What's funny, when it first came out, I used to call it Game of Thorns, just to mess like with the true fans. I mean, I liked it, but I wouldn't like, you know, some people would get into it big time. I'd be like, they're not Game of Thorns, Game of Thrones. Again, identifying the stock from the get-go. You can put the red, it just makes it easier. Look, resistance turns into support. Red line resistance turns into green line support. Red line resistance turns into green line support. Now, this is hotter. This is early in the year. Look at March. Or April, I should say. This is back-to-back days. This was April the 28th. SNDX rolled on April the 29th. So 2 days, back-to-back days, we're seeing great movement. And what? Not plays dump on over, right? Look at this held up more than half of its gain here. Came all the way back down to this beautiful bounce here at 17, 30, whatever this was. Bounced here once, twice, 3 times, and continued to push off of it. Put these lines in. Notice these when you trade. The more you know, like I said, the more you notice these things, the more you're going to know where support is. Where's the bounce at? You will not be that person in chat asking where the bounce is anymore. Or if anything, you're just double verifying it first, and that's fine. Always do that. Always ask. That's why you get my point. But you will get there is the point where you're not having to ask anymore. You'll understand. You'll see, oh, I don't have to ask that anymore. I see. Bounce here, 1730. We got support here at 1775-ish or whatever that is. You know, you get my point. The more you see these, the more you'll understand. And the same thing. Same with, literally with CREX, SNDX. That's funny. 2 in a row that end with X 2 days in a row. Nice trend line. Beautiful bull flags. Bull flags, and forget that team. Bull flags and wedges with support and volume lead to nice spikes. Haven't had too many of those recently, but earlier this year, that's all we kept seeing. Another great play here. Why did Dek want that? And he was alerting it, and we both were in chat. Why do we want the 375 bounce? It was so clear cut and so pretty, and we got it right to the freaking T. And let's just go back and why you have to use it, team. This is why I'm always pulling up past chart history, the daily chart. What have you done for me in the past? What can I look for you to do in the future, right? Look at this green line I put in. It literally doesn't get any clearer than that. Look right here, resistance, resistance, resistance. I mean, how many times are we going to run into like 375 and not break? So when we're on once resistance, the old saying, right? Once we are resistance, we are now. I was hoping everyone just said it themselves. Support, exactly. Once was resistance equals new support. So let's go back to it. And where does it bounce at? As you can see, as I put the line all the way over here, because 402, you can see that's the lower band of the VWAP. That's the lower band. So you got to understand that's right close to that 370. It's right, pretty much right on the dot. 375 is where that line is. Now, it did dip a tad below. It probably would dip to like 367 or whatever. That's fine. You're in at 375 beautifully as this spikes right back up. You know, you're out at 4, out at 450, out at the VWAP. And the VWAP, so you get my point. You're close to 5 then. You're up a full point by the time you get to the VWAP. Play the bounce plays. Use past chart history. Look for old resistance that equals new support. I mean, it doesn't even have to sometimes. You don't have to get so super technical, team. You honestly don't. Just look what the stock has done previously. Like this. Here's another good one you can use. Moving averages. What did we just see earlier with a moving average at right over $11, $11.03, I think, whatever it was, or was it, maybe it was Tillery? I forgot which one it was, because TLRY and ACB both hit right over 12 and have pulled back, and almost the same exact price. But they hit a moving average. It could be 50-day, could be the 200-day, could be the 13 EMA. Use the moving averages. They are huge. The daily ones, not the intraday so much. Those can help, but the daily. Go to stockcharts.com. Of course, look in chat when we have it pulled up. It'll always be on the right-hand side on the daily. You'll see what the moving averages are. Use those for resistance. Use those for support bounces. We've seen that with this year alone. What's that? With Tesla. Remember Tesla, how many times it's bounced off the moving averages? Great. And when they crack, what? Short it. Boom. It cracks through the 50-day moving average right here. When it cracks, short it. Now, for more bounce play opportunities, again, VWAP bounces, old resistance. Look at this old high a day right here, this upper shadow, then meets up with the VWAP. And of course, like I said, sometimes you're not going to get a touch right on the dot. It barely touches the VWAP. It barely hits this old high a day resistance area. But you've got to understand, old resistance equals new support. Especially, that's why I started coming up with this double whammy when you have another support area with it. So you have old high a day resistance, old resistance equals new support, but then you have a VWAP. So beautiful bounces here. Old resistance here. Look at this old resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4 upper shadows, essentially 3 for sure. Look how eventually it does a beautiful bounce play. And as I said, the more resistance you build up, the more the support you build up. Now, I'll say if this, you know what I mean, if the resistance is light, the support's going to be light. I've went over that multiple times today. Pretty good resistance here. It hit it a few times, just couldn't break it for a few minutes. When it finally does, look at the support you get. Same here. Could not break this area for a few minutes, 10-ish minutes. Finally becomes good support later on. Use that, team. Notice that. Notice how old resistance, I'm just trying to pound in your head, looking at old resistance equals new support. And here's a play. And finally, some of my alerts you can pull out. I pulled out in chat. The bounce. Let's see if I can get this perfectly in there so you can see it. Of course, these were earlier on, but when we get up to the $11, look at, again, a play. Hours in, we're still talking about, is this CREX too? I think it is. So you get my point. This thing just continued to push and push and push. No, it's Cap R. This is Cap R. Cap R, that was at 375 though. That was a 375 bounce, and that's those bounces I love to talk about, right? You never see that low again. You never see that price again on that bounce. That 375 bounce we got, imagine if you're still in here at 775. So, great bounce play from 375, eh? Then eventually, as you can see later on, watch for the 7.5 crack if it doesn't pop soon right here. And it finally, it popped. It didn't crack over 7.5. Did get a quick little crack to the 7.3 consolidation area from earlier, as you could see. That's why I put the red line in. That's why when it did finally crack, look how strong this support is. You'd think, okay, cool, it's cracking out of the wedge. It's going to follow it. No, when it's hot, it's going to just barely pull back to this old support area or old resistance area, so new support, and it's going to continue to push. And then again, next bounce, most likely old consolidation resistance area. This is at 1126. So essentially, when this thing's up in the $8 area, look how this thing, and I think that's where I can't remember if I got in here again, but look at this bounce perfectly. Nice bounce off the 775. It came down to 776 on the dot. And this is exactly why. Old resistance equals new support, and then it pushes up into the new high a day. Here's another great one. I love alerting in chat. The 240 bounce from SLS. And let me just kind of quick little see it real quick, get right over into the alerts and why. And as you saw as I drew the line out, why I was wanting that 240 bounce, because it bounced there twice. This is the second bounce. And here's my alerts in chat when I was pulling up when I did my recap that day, all the way back in February now. This is that long ago. How long we've been dealing with alerts in chat and me showing you and the bounce plays opportunities when they're hot. I mean, earlier this year was super hot is my point. Watch for the 2-4 bounce. This is 28 after. So right before the bell rings, this is 28 after right here. It's slowly coming in. I'm loving it because this is literally pulling back. Watch for the pullback bounce to 2-4. And then boom, right on the dot as I'm alerting this a minute and a half. Of course, even 6 minutes before the market opens, when we're up in the 270s, we have 275 resistance with 240 support. And then I'm watching for that bounce at 240, and of course got in there right at 240 on the dot, as you can see right here. Boom. Beautiful. beautiful. And just like the last one with Cap R, one of those low day bounces where you get into that bounce, it's the lowest bounce you see. It's the lowest price you'll see again for an extended amount of time. You do not see 240 again, obviously, as it goes straight up to 340 in a matter of a few minutes for a while. So those are the bounce plays I'm always looking for, and thus, again, beautiful 240 bounce. And now halts. We've seen these finally starting to come back around again, and of course, how to trade the halt. I've done that strategy. But on bounce plays, same type thing. It's what I'm looking for usually, right? Like yesterday. It's exactly what we got with the play we had yesterday, right? What was my big play yesterday? I forgot our HOFV, right? HOFV that halted up, wanted a quick bounce play. Just wait for it. Let all this craziness happen sometimes if you want to. Just wait for your bounce play, whether it's the old halt area. You did get in, like, kind of like yesterday with HOFV, which I think is another alert I'm about to get into. I think that is this one right here. Yes, HOFV. Remember this one, obviously, from yesterday. It halts up right here. If everyone remembers this nice spike yesterday and exactly where Dek got in on the small account challenge, I got in on the small account challenge. Wanted this to open up and pull back to this nice little platform wedge right here and be a beautiful bounce. Now, if we do get a further pullback, we were calling what? This area, 475.80-ish area, which there was a bounce there too. But we first got in here. It unhalted right there. As you can see, let me kind of zoom in on it for you in this slide. And that's more of the Dek strategy, right? The Dek halt strategy. Mine's more of the gap up. It gaps up at $6 and then it goes up to $6.50. Then your pullback bounce is the old halt area. That's the AK-47 halt strategy. You're buying off the old halt because it gapped up and spiked, then pulled back like it did here, but it's above where it halted up. Thus, your halt is always going to be some support. When it gaps up beside or even below like this, you want a bounce play. That's what you're really ultimately looking for below the halt. So what? This first little wedge was exactly where we got in. We got in here at the 525, 515 mark. Boom, pushed right up to new high day, $6+ just like that. And then you're out. You're up a point. Boom, done. You're over with. Short it just like I did. Then I shorted it back down. But the bounce, you're quick. You're in and out on these plays. You're not, I'm in at 525 holding for 720 or those 875. No. You get up a point on these plays, you're good to go. You get up 50 cents on these plays, you're good to go. Take your profit. Don't hold, because you look at this. Look at the range, up and down, up and down, up and down. Get in on the bounce, get out, scalp it. You're scalping essentially. Another one, NNDM. This one back from May. Another great bounce play where it just kept rolling and rolling, going. Instead of rolling, I guess it was rolling too. But why I wanted kind of like SLS with the 240 bounce. Why I wanted the 117 bounce. There was a reason why. Look how many times it was bouncing. At 120 was really the area, but it went a little lower, so I took the 117 bounce. I mean, it's pretty much clear cut. Look at that great support there. And it's earlier in the year when everything's hot. It's that hot fire. It's a spiking. It's a rocking and a rolling. And look what this continues to do. But you get this 117 bounce right there, and it pushes right up to 140. Come right back on down. You get another chance here at the 120-ish mark essentially to get back in, and then boom, it just takes off. But you just note, and then look what it ran to, 397. And you can see this predictable bounce plays and on the way up. The same thing it was doing on any of these other plays I was showing you before. Old resistance right here. I didn't put the lines in. Kind of forgot to on this one, but old resistance equals new support. Look how long that was support for. Look at this support. Old resistance right here at the 155-ish mark. New support at the 155.60 mark. Look at it. Had one quick pull, and then it held that area though. The 150 to 60 mark it held as it was resistance earlier. New support. Old resistance out here at the 160.65 mark. New support, the 160.65 mark. You can just keep working your way on up, and that's exactly what kept. And that's where you find your bounce plays. That's why you get in there. Old resistance equals new support. Now sometimes it continues to push, and you don't get a pure pullback to old resistance areas. Right? That's fine. It's just a no entry. You either have to get in with pure Momo when it breaks a new high a day, say right here. Snakeskin Randy and say, hey, I'm at the low part of this, wedge. Let's hope for, a good push to the top of it and break of it. A lot of traders that have bigger accounts, or you just wait for your pullback. If you don't get it, you don't get in. It's just that simple. And now I hope that's really helped you out on bounce plays, as I kind of went through a lot of lessons there. Again, if you want this lesson, just DM me. I'll easily have it up. I have the video of it. I'll have it in the video library, or I should say Dek. Hopefully we'll get it up in the video library. Nice little 20-minute lesson right there of how to find your bounce plays, how to play the dip, where do you support, where do you find your resistance areas, and it's just that that easy. It's not like you have to, you use all these different technical ideas. I mean, it's as simple as old resistance equals new support, using that past chart history, whether it's the daily or intraday, VWAP, moving averages, just those simple little things. And you can find so many bounce plays, so many opportunities, especially when the market's hot.